Welcome back to Omni Garage and welcome to the WRX STi Detailing Series. So over the next couple of days I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time working on this car, and that's going to start today with a wash and a decontamination, and then it will be followed by a polishing and a ceramic coating. So we're going to use G-Technics Crystal Serum Light and EXO V4 to protect the car for the next couple of years. Initially what I'm trying to achieve is to remove some of this scratching that you can see down the side of the car. So this goes all the way around the vehicle, and they're really fine scratches and swirls, and these are most likely being caused by improper washing technique, so potentially using some really harsh brushes on the car, and you can only see them under certain lighting, but I want to try and remove as many of these from the car as possible. There's also a wee bit of tar, not all of this is tar at the back here, but there's a bit of tar around the car, and no doubt we'll find some iron contaminants in the paint as well. So this afternoon's process is going to be all around removing as much of that from the car as possible before we move into the polishing, which will take place over the next couple of days and should remove hopefully the majority of these really fine scratches that we can see as we're catching this white paint in the sunlight here. So I'm estimating that this process this afternoon will take a couple of hours to fully decon the car, and that includes claying it. And then the polishing stages could be anywhere from 4 to 8 hours depending on how easy we can find a combination to take most of the scratches out of the vehicle. But first we've got a lot of cleaning up to do. There's a lot of debris. This has been driven for about 1,000 kilometers without a wash, and obviously around the back of the car here we've got quite a bit of dirt under the license plate, so those are off. So we'll get this as clean as possible, but what we won't be doing today, we'll do that in a future video, is cleaning the wheels. So those are going to come off separately. We're going to wash and ceramic coat those. We're all ready to begin now, so we'll fill up our wash bucket with about 70 mils of Meguiars Hyperwash, fill these buckets up, and we're ready to wash the car. We've finished with the initial wash, so now it is time to move on to the next step, which is the chemical decontamination of the car. We'll be using two of CarPro's products, TarX and IronX, for this process. So we'll begin by using TarX and spraying the whole car down. So we've just finished with the TarX, so there wasn't an awful lot of tar in the car, but that has all been rinsed off now. So the second part of the chemical decontamination is CarPro's IronX. We want to make sure that we've got all of the iron particles off the paint, because the last thing we want to be doing is moving those around with polish when we get to the next stage of the detail. Now remembering this car is only about 12 months old and it's only got 7,000 kilometers on it, so there's not an awful lot of iron on the car, but what you will see is around the side skirts here, and then moving up toward the door handles and the gas filler cap at the back, we do have some iron that's breaking down with the IronX. And if we move around to the rear of the car, we've got a little bit leaking from the badges on the back of the WRX. So we're all done with IronX. So we've finished our chemical decontamination. So that was using two of CarPro's products. So that was TarX and IronX. So we have prepared the paint now, where we can move into the mechanical decontamination with a Claybar. The second part of the decontamination is doing the mechanical decon. So that's involving the Meguiars Claybar that we've got here, some traditional clay, and Nanoskin's Autoscrub. So this is a 6-inch synthetic clay pad, and what's great about the synthetic clay is that if you drop traditional clay on the ground, you need to throw it away, whereas with the Nanoskin, you're able to dunk it in a bucket of water, rinse it off, and continue to use it. One of the other advantages of using this is that it is huge. So it's a 6-inch pad, so you can really get around the vehicle a lot quicker than using a small piece of clay. So we should be able to do this in about 10 to 15 minutes. We'll be using Gyeon's Claylube to help with this process. In order to do this properly, we want to make sure that the surface of the car is really well lubricated. So we haven't dried it off yet, and what we're going to do is use the Gyeon Claylube to make sure that our pad is thoroughly soaked before we start dragging this across the paint, because we want it to glide, we don't want it to drag. So when you're using synthetic clay, it's really important that you break it in by starting with the glass. So we're going to start on the rear section of the car here, do the rear windscreen, then we'll move around, do the side before we do the windscreen to break the pad in. Move around to the paint, we're just following the same process, so we're making sure that we've got a lot of lubrication on the surface because we want this clay bar to glide rather than grab to the surface. So we've gone around the whole car using the Nanoskin Autoscrub, but we've still got a few patches around the rear door area where I can still feel on the paint that it is grabbing a little bit. So we're going to grab our traditional clay, so the Meguiars Claybar, and we will try and hit a few of these spots to make sure that we get everything off the paint. So the Nanoskin is a fine synthetic pad. You can get something a bit more aggressive, but the Claybar is going to do exactly that.